Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Today, going into a great weekend, I want to say that this week we're going to talk about Pretenders. I never really was super huge into Pretenders, but I would be interested in a few characters from Masterpiece. We're going to talk about this. I've talked about this in the past, but we're going to dig a lot deeper into it today. And one of the things I want to talk about is A, what was out there, what was made, B, what's the G1 stuff going for, what's the prices on it, and that makes kind of a difference in a way. Will there be demand for Masterpiece versions of Pretenders? But the biggest question is, how would they be tackled? I don't really have that answer, but I have two different companies, two different ways they've approached it. We'll discuss this. Pretenders in the Masterpiece scale coming up. Alright, so let's start with how many were made, who was all made, who are the characters that are in the Pretenders, and I will say this is Transformers Land I'm using as a guide for G1, so we know where we came from, and I'll link them down below because I am using them as a resource, leaning pretty heavy on them. Let's get started with who is in this. Who are these characters? Bludgeon up in the top left there. That one is what I actually have that figure. I got it in a lot for like $5. I don't have all the accessories, so still not worth very much, but it's one that I know and I've had and I kind of like. So I have a little fondness for that one. Next one is Bomb Burst. Looks like a kind of like a bat in a way, bat head. A lot of accessories. Now I started noticing they do have a lot of accessories with them, and that's kind of cool. We will get in. I got a picture of kind of their shell. They are a shell, and figures, smaller companions go inside there. Then we got Bugly. Bugly over there is the third one. Looks all right. And one of the things when you get to like Bumblebee, for me it was like you got a new Bumblebee figure, although it didn't quite look like the cartoon Bumblebee, but it was still interesting to have a new Bumblebee figure. But then it went alt mode goes inside, so that's kind of cool. Then down below got Carnivac, which is, so there's a couple of these that are beasts in a way. So they're not actual, there's not a human form, it's a beast mode. Beast mode! So we would say if we got a Masterpiece version, they'd have articulation in the legs instead of just standing there. And so that's a thing. Catilla. And there's, I guess that's a tail. Is that a tail that's with it as a weapon accessory, or just a tail? And it comes with, and they come with animals that'll go inside too. And then we got Chain Claw, like Chainsaw but Chain Claw, and Cloudburst, which Cloudburst, isn't that one of the twins also that's in there? So my knowledge is still a little bit weak in this area, but let's go ahead and move to the next one. Okay, so up in the left, Cross Blades, and again, I don't know much about all of these and how that works, but there's a lot of parts and pieces to some of these. Some of these are ridiculously expensive, but we will see which one's the most expensive here in a bit. Double Header, which I think is one of the cooler looking ones. He's dude with two heads. Now again, this is like a humanoid shell that would split open. You put the figure inside, the smaller one companion. Finback, and Finback seems to look familiar, like Bugly in a way, like the way the internal figure looks. And then we've got Grimlock. So good old-fashioned Grimlock. Now I do have this Grimlock. I don't think mine's complete though. No, I'm kidding. I'm 100% sure that it's not 100% complete, but it's Grimlock. Then we've got at the bottom left there Groundbreaker, which that one kind of looks kind of cool too. Got a little jet or something. Transformer guy that goes inside there. Then we got Gunrunner, which is, I guess, just a car. I guess it's just a car, and you got another little thing that goes inside there, and some accessories and stuff that would clip on top of that hole and that port. Then there's Iguanus. Iguanus is an interesting looking purple dude over there. That's a cool looking one. Yeah. I wonder if that tail, I don't think the tail's articulated on that. Then we've got Jazz, and I've got more pictures of Jazz. Jazz is a cool one, and the figures, it's a cool figure. Kind of like an Action Master, except it transforms. Then at the top left there, we got Landmine. Landmine's a interesting one. It's got a sword and some other things. Then we got a long tooth, a little long in the tooth there, as you see. His teeth go down to his knees. That's how long is long. It almost looks like a little miniature cup. Like a cup figure that goes with Longtooth. Then we got Octo Punch that has 2 arms and 2 tentacles off each arm, so 4 tentacles going on there. I don't even know what those purple weapons do. Then on the top right corner, we got Pincher. Pincher there looking like it's got a little scorpion with it and stuff. So that's kind of cool. Notice these kind of orangish, yellowish colors. There's quite a few of them that are that color. Bottom left, Roadblock. And that one is... I think I actually have that one. I didn't even know that was a Pretender. But that was kind of cool. Of course, I need all those parts. That's where you get caught up in these Pretenders, getting all those little pieces. Then Road Grabber. So it's another car vehicle. Kind of looks like Crasher in a way. It doesn't. You have to admit, it looks kind of like Crasher. Then next to that is Skullgrin, which is another very popular one. And a pricier vintage one. And then Sky High. Sky High's... And I will admit, that one looks kind of boring, in a way. Then going the next set down, Skyhammer top left. And that's one, I think that one is another one that's challenging to collect. Get complete because of the parts. It's like a jet, in a way. Then another jet goes inside of it. Snarler. Snarl looks kind of like a hog. I wonder if it's probably not transparent, but does. This picture makes it look transparent. Splashdown. Splashdown's kind of aquatic. It does look like the Shocking Shark from Beast Wars. So there was a playset, Beast Wars Shocking Shark, and that looks like the same coloration, kind of the same look to it. Starscream. Now we got a Starscream. This is a newer Starscream figure. Not a very good figure in itself. I don't believe. I don't know if I have that one at all. But just looking at the picture and kind of my memory serving me on this, not a good Starscream. Stranglehold. That looks like kind of a fun one. Almost looks like a Sinner Twin in a way, but only one head instead of 2. The coloration kind of gives me that Sinner Twin vibes and Stranglehold. And then this dude, the big shell guy, looks kind of like some sort of maybe a middle-aged kind of fighter that would be in the arena. Then we got Sub Marauder, another aquatic one. And that looks interesting. It's got the kind of burgundy, pink-ish accessories. We got Thunderwing, another jet. So they're not all robot. And then Vroom. Vroom seems like, in a way, inspired by Junkion. And then lastly, at the very bottom, we got Wave Rider, and he looks similar to a lot of the other ones we've seen in the past. Now to get into pricing here, now this is the high end. Now I'm only showing these just so you can see the absolute most expensive, but also you can see them in the package. How were they packaged back in the day? How expensive are they? I guess some of them from different areas were packaged differently. Some of them were on blister cards. Some of them were in the actual vintage stock packaging. And now I remember this kind of era not liking the packaging. It went away from the grid with the red and the purple and went into these golds and blue and black setup, which just isn't... I don't know. I didn't like the change at the time, and I just felt like, you know, the future was getting cheap. I really did feel like the future of Transformers was cheapness, and the packaging looked cheaper, and the figures didn't have die cast. And as a kid, I felt that way. But collector's pay up for these. So we got Thunderwing at like $5,600. Another Thunderwing. We've got a Sub Marauder. Then we've got Skullgrin, which is $3,000 there. Now these people asking prices, there's no chance they'll sell for that. Probably they'll have to go cheaper than that. Groundbreaker, Barricade Roadblock. There's then, of course, one of my favorites here is Bludgeon, and then Octo Punch, $2,800. So all around $3,000 and up. Now we didn't get a Monstructor in the U.S., making that one of the most expensive ones around. I would actually like to see Legends knock out a Monstructor. I'd be about that, all about that. But now we see that Hasbro's actually making a Monstructor, so that's something. As for Pretenders, so I don't believe this was ever released in the United States, but I might be wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure, but as you can see, it really wasn't on the list there when we were going through TF Transformers Land, but I'm sure they've got it on there somewhere. So Monstructor's one that I would like to see in at least Legend scale, if not Masterpiece scale. I mean, I don't think, does anyone really want a 21-inch Monstructor? And I'm looking at the highest sold listings for loose items, and man, who's topping this? Bludgeon, 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 cracking 300 consistently. So that's impressive. So probably the most sought after figure out there. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. I mean, I've got them, and this is why I haven't completed them. Now, what have we seen companies do? Now, I'm talking about Masterpiece, and I know people are like, well, you can't talk about Masterpiece and talk about Hasbro because they're not the same. But when we get into talking about what would we do, how would we accomplish this? All right, so let's take a look at good old Skullgrin here, and just what did the original one look like? Well, we have a giant character here with a white, sort of a bone skull head there. It's like a skull of a demon head in a way. And then there's a little character inside that transforms, and he goes inside of the shell. Now it looks like he's got holsters. Well, that's not really a holster, but he's got some belt that he puts on. It's got another skull on it. But basically you have no articulation whatsoever on this figure, except for on the arms for the main figure. And then you have limited articulation on the smaller figure, and then he goes inside, and that's all she wrote. I mean, you open up a shell, put the figure inside, and that's about it. Well, Hasbro gave us a fully articulated figure that transforms into the alt mode that the inner character would have. So it's sort of a combination of the two characters. Instead of having a shell, they combined it into a combination of the two characters, and it transforms into the ship. So let's take a look at that ship. Or is it a tank? I think I have this figure, but I never opened it, so I haven't transformed it. And I haven't paid too close attention to the alt mode, so I guess it's a tank-ish-esque type deal. The way the gun clips on almost looks like a wing, but that's one way to go about it. So if Masterpiece companies make this, so if X-Transbots puts one out, we know Fans Toys isn't going to touch it because it wasn't in the cartoon. So X-Transbots, maybe even, I'm surprised Fans Hobby hasn't done a couple. And if they did, they missed my radar. But maybe MMC or someone does one of these. But it'd probably have to be X-Transbots. And it'd probably be years down the road. But what would they do? How would it be tackled? Would they follow Hasbro's recipe? Well, it's technically Takara's recipe. Takara's the ones that engineered it, designed it. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bludgeon now. And so this figure is very expensive. Everyone wants like $300 for this guy. And he comes with that removable helmet. He's got like a hammer. Well, no, that's not a hammer. That's like a... That is the actual cannon that goes on the tank. And then there's a gun, there's a tank. So it's a transforming tank. I guess you get to remove the top to it and all of that. And he's got a skull on his face. So Bludgeon's a kind of a cool one. Super 7 brought theirs out. Now, they show that you can remove the helmet. I don't know if it would fit your vintage one. Probably not. But if it did, oh, that'd be a lot of fun. You can just put that on your vintage one and instead of spending $90 on a vintage one. But the way they went about it is the figure doesn't open up. You just, I guess, put that other thing as a gun to hold. The actual tank kind of cannon piece would be a gun to hold, or maybe it plugs to the back. I don't know. I haven't opened one of these, so I don't know. I haven't even watched a review. I probably should. But it is kind of cool because you get additional swords and stuff with it. But the way this is made, it's made as an action figure. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, if it's Transformers, it has to transform. But if it's in this case, I would think a Masterpiece company could make this, that maybe the back opens up, a back compartment opens up, and you could plug in the tank that can transform and plug into the back. Something along those lines. I mean, that's a possibility. Or maybe it would integrate as plugging in on the back as a backpack. I'm not sure. Those are ideas. But Super 7's already made this. It really wasn't that wildly popular. I kind of thought it would be. You can have a stand-in. I mean, imagine if they did all 33 of the characters. Would they all sell? Sadly, probably not. But should something transform in this? Maybe. If a masterpiece transforms like X Transbots made it, something would have to transform. Would it be a mini tank that plugs into the back? Maybe there's a plugs in halfway into the back. I don't know. But then you start looking at some other characters like Jazz, and with that, the Jazz figure is kind of cool for what it is as an accessory. And when you start looking at these, are the transforming aspect Transformers, are they accessories, or are they the main character and the giant shell is the accessory? How would these scale? I mean, there's still a lot of questions to be had. Should Jazz scale with a regular Jazz? Should the shell be, instead of 8 inches, should the shell be 12 inches? I mean, what is going on here? How much articulation should the shell have? Obviously, it should have, well, more than 5 points of articulation, but it should have a lot of articulation, modern level articulation. So there's still a lot of questions about this. And then with that, here's a picture of how this sort of goes together in the vintage one. So kind of still G1 be your guide. You put Jazz into alt mode and plug it into the shell and close the shell up. So how would Jazz integrate with a being? Unless it was just this combiner looking figure that turned into a car. So there's a lot of, well, really, there's only really 2 ways to do it. You've got just a full-on action figure, and then you transform the car. Maybe it condenses more to go into the back, or an open panel and go into the figure. Or the figure that looks humanoid turns into this car. And I got to tell you, that's sort of what the live-action movie stuff does. They have a very rounded type of exterior, and you get kind of veiny looking stuff going on, and they turn into very sleek cars with the live action movie stuff. So it's in the same vein in a way, so there's a possibility there. So that circles right back to who cares, right? Like, Mike, you just spent all this time making what's probably going to be a 20-minute video and asking who really cares. I'm curious, though. How many people would care? One of the answers is going to be the number of views this video gets. Some people are going to be like, pretenders, I don't care. What do I care? That's going to be a lot of people's attitude to this video. It is what it is. But it would be interesting to see masterpiece versions of pretenders. I'm more curious what companies do. How do they pull it off? And with that, I'd like to get my hands on a couple. Just pick the most popular ones, the ones people want the most, and start from there. And if there's not enough rallying behind it, don't go any further. But I almost guarantee some company somewhere makes a pretender, it sells out. Just because it's something different, just because it's interesting. And if they execute it well, then they could go on and eventually make all 33. But how many people would be in for all 33, I don't know. This is where I ask you. Let me know in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Teddy Hanger out.